Okay, thank you all very much for joining us today. We are incredibly excited to see all of you, and we are very much looking forward to this which is a very promising talk. We are Women Who Code London. Please follow us on our social media, join our Slack where we can communicate in between the events. I'm going to send you all these links after the event, so it's easier for you. A couple of words about Women Who Code. Women Who Code is a global community which currently has 230,000 members across, I think, 160 cities all over the world. We do not restrict our events by any criteria, but we ask our participants to follow our code of conduct. The full version is available at womenwhocode.com/code-of-conduct, but TLDR, please be nice to each other. Our mission is to inspire women to excel in technology careers. Our vision is a world where women are represented as technical executives, founder, VCs, board members, software engineers, senior software engineers, tech leads, and so on. I really like this initiative about Women Who Code. If you have not seen it yet, check it out. It's upload here. Let's celebrate our successes together. So this is a screenshot of an email that goes all of the subscribers, which is 230,000 as of the moment. But we also want to talk about our local achievements. So please share for yourself, for your friend, for your colleague, what have you achieved in the past and what would you would like to share with us. We always need volunteers. Please join us as volunteers because nothing really beautiful and really strong cannot be built by one person. There is always a team that is behind great initiatives. So briefly about the volunteering opportunities. We do need leads. Leads are people who supervise technical directions, supervise events for a particular topic, supervise mentorship, and so on. Evangelists who help us out with social media. Project managers who would help to organize, supervise particular events. And episodic volunteers, it's a one-time involvement, like some design, like design a poster, or when we are going to hold, again, in-person events to help out with logistics, to meet attendees, to help to help with registration, and so on. TLDR, dear women, we need you. Thank you very much. And before we proceed to Amanda's presentation, may I please ask you to turn your web cameras on. I would really like to take a screenshot of our meeting today, because usually during our in-person events, we take like a family photo with everyone. So screenshots will do for today. Okay, what's going on with my head? It's okay. Okay. Smile. Thank you very much. I am passing the imaginary microphone to Amanda.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yep, all is good.
Cool. Let me just start off by saying thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at Women Who Code. When I came to London about 4 years ago, it was one of the meetups that I used to attend a lot, and I learned a lot from the community. So it's a huge pleasure to be here actually giving a talk today. We're going to talk about conversational experiences using actions on Google and Dialogflow. I'm not sure if you joined some minutes before when I asked the question on what's your level on chatbots and automation, just so I have a feeling on which level you are. Basically, I saw some people from 0 to 10 saying they are 3, 5, so I'm going to give the talk along those numbers. So let me talk a little bit about myself before we jump into the techie stuff. I'm originally from Brazil. I come from a small city, and ever since I was very little, I used to play with the computer with my dad, both software and hardware, and it was a no-brainer to me that I'd choose computer science in university. But it was really weird because I didn't expect to have so little women in my class. Out of 40 people, only 5 were women and very few graduated. So I'm really glad to see so many women in here, and there's more people joining and hopefully remaining in this field. And if you need help with anything, just reach out to this amazing community, reach out to me. We're more than happy to hear your story and help you carry on. So let me start off. Let's talk about movies. Reply to me in the chat if you want to, if you can. Do you know any artificial intelligence movies? Have you ever watched anything in which the machine started to maybe develop feelings, or maybe they conquered so much knowledge that they started to interact with their owner or with the human species? So basically, we see that being we can see that in movies, and we can see that also in real life. At times, people are even scared of automation. I don't know if that's a fear of yours, or if you ever heard conversations along the lines of the robots are going to take over my jobs and everything. I personally don't think that's what's going to happen. Some professions, yes, they can be automated, and maybe you can have fewer people working because the machines can be there for a longer time. So for instance, sorry? I think someone, can you hear me? Yeah, cool, sorry. I forgot what I was, but I think I was saying that some professions, there can be fewer people working there. Let's say because maybe you need people to be there working during 8 to 9, but then you can have something still working in those extra hours. And then it can even be just a message saying, sorry, there's no one to help you at the moment, but come back at X time. Or even like, imagine if you're still using a piece of paper every day, but you don't want to every day put a piece of paper outside of your store. So you can automate these things so you don't have to do them over and over. Let's talk about computers. When I started to use computers many years ago, I had to memorize what I wanted to do. So if I wanted to open the control panel, for instance, I had to know I had to click start and find it. Nowadays, you can see how, especially kids, they're interacting with technology. They know how to unlock an iPhone. Things are just so much easier to grasp and to get started. And I don't know about you, but nowadays I've been logging everything I do. During lockdown, it became my new hobby. And I was just thinking, because why do I have to, press a billion buttons to then log the food? Why can't I just interact with my apps using my voice? So I can just say, add this food on app X, or even a transaction if I'd like to send money to someone, and I keep on doing that over and over. Why can't I just use my voice? And these are things which are available for you to do nowadays. So you can either interact with them as a user, or you can even create these things, bring it to your businesses. So I gave a general idea about chatbots, but I'm going to be talking about Google Assistant more. My focus is in Google Assistant, but feel free to ask me questions which are not only for this platform. Basically, many of us Google search a lot, others use DuckDuckGo, it doesn't matter. So we've been Google searching things, we've been making searches, And now with the assistant, we have a new way to interact with it. You can use your voice, but you can still tap on a screen or even on a keyboard. It's just new ways for you to interact with technology. On the topic of Google Assistant, it is widely available across the globe. As of now, in 19 languages and 80 countries. It's not only about Android devices. You can find it in cars, in smartwatches, on iPhones. There is a number of devices you can find it. Nowadays, more than 1 billion. And when we talk about actions, for instance, for Amazon, you have Alexa Skills. In Google, you have Google Actions. There's more than 1 million actions out there. So we'll talk a bit more about actions. So technology. Every 10 years or so, we see a huge, a major shift in technology. We came from mainframes to desktop to mobile to nowadays we are on the era of the decade of smart speakers. So it's still, you can see compared to others, it's not well matured yet. But for 10 years, we've been hearing these names, chatbots, bots, automation more and more. And I believe that's where the future is going. We don't want to reinvent the wheel every day. We want to get our things done faster. I'd like to know how you have been using the Google Assistant or any other types of virtual assistants. We can see some responses here from this Adobe survey. So most of people are using it for things that you do in your house or when you're in the car or when you're commuting somewhere. So a lot of music, weather forecast. I'd like to know what you've been up to. And so imagine that every day you have to, I don't know about you, I'll tell you about myself. Every day I have to wake up and then I want to hear about the news and I want to hear in the day how to commute to work. And if I had to ask my Google Assistant that every day, I hate speaking in the morning. I don't want to, to think too much. I just want things done for me. So what you can do is that you can set a routine. So I put it on my phone. Whenever I say, okay, G, let's go to work, it just tells me some commands in a sequence for me. So it's one less choice, one less thing for me to think in the morning. It's already done for me. And okay, in the topic of actions, how can you told me there are 1 million actions out there. So where can I find them? Where are they? Basically, there is the Google Assistant directory. You can just Google search for it, Assistant directory. And what you can find in there are both actions that were created by Google, but also by people like me and you. So basically what happens is if you have one of those in your house, you can ask many questions to it, but if you're to enter an action, for instance, I create a bot, my nickname is Chibi, and then I created this fun chatbot Chibi game. If you are to enter chatbot Chibi, and then you ask about the weather, she doesn't know about the weather. She can't talk to Google. So imagine you're on an app on your phone. You can't enter, I don't know, your bank account and ask about the weather. It's the same thing. There is this separation of scopes and concerns. So you invoke an action, but then you tell me, okay, but how is it going to know that it's chatbot Chibi and not something else? I don't know if you can see if the screen's too small in there, but for you to talk to an action, you have to train some invocation questions. And if you see all of them, what they have in common is that you have to say the name of the action in full. So just imagine a pool of actions, and then for you to interact with it, it's going to match the exact name of it. Of course, it's still early days. At times it can't pick up some accents. It can't pick up, I don't know, I try to call my parents and every day it doesn't understand me very well, but then I have to retrain my voice. And it also depends on the language. When it's, I don't know, a native speaking, English native speaking person, it's easier, but it's getting better. They're working on it and it's getting better. And again, you don't have to have the best smartphone to have voice working in there, especially in countries like mine, in Brazil, where many people cannot afford a good phone. When you're developing applications, you have to think that some people did not start using technology like me or maybe you, that they had a computer and they learned so many things. Some people, they are interacting with it mainly with voice, and it's amazing. At times I see my dad when I go back home, he just uses voice for everything he does. So you have to think of things. Is it going to reach an endpoint? Are you going to talk to APIs? How much can you give to that person? How much can that phone take from you? So you have to have all the, not all, but you have to have many people in mind when you're developing for diverse groups of users, and have inclusion in mind. So let me talk about content creators. I have this friend, Bruna. She's amazing and she creates content for YouTube. She has all these followers on Instagram, and I asked her to do this challenge with me. So so a video is going to play here. She created a tutorial on how you can use this, I don't even know the name, something to dry your hair. And then she made this tutorial with all the steps. So this is, I'm on the simulator of the Google Assistant. And then right now I'm putting the display so you can see how it would look on my phone. And then you can see the introduction, step number 1, I type next step, it goes to step number 2. If I type again, next step, it goes to step number 3. And if I go crazy, go to the previous step, go to the last one. So right now I can consume videos without having to find that exact timestamp, which I hate doing. So Bruna created it, and she doesn't know how to code. We created it together. And for many people, how can I get started with this? Basically, Google provides you with a template on a spreadsheet, and then you basically have to fill in the columns. For instance, in this one, this Revlon thing she used. So she just said, what is the title, the step number, from which timestamp to what timestamp, and what are the what you have to do in that step. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And then you have to publish it and you're done. So this one example that I'm showing you is for videos, but this is also available for other types of content that I'll talk more about. How do I use chatbots? I receive many questions, especially after I give a talk or something. And in the beginning, I started to give my email away, but I just couldn't handle it. So what I did is I got most of the questions that people were asking me. I trained my bot, and now my bot takes them for me. And if for some reason they cannot be answered, they are escalated to me. So if you are to go to my website and ask me a question, you can try it out. So when I created my website, I didn't know about this new product, Dialogflow Messenger, that basically what it gives you is this rich Dialogflow tool that you can just add to your website. You just copy a script, like a JavaScript script tag, put it there, and then out of the box, it's working on your HTML code. So you don't even have to worry about front end, it's done for you. Another way that you can interact with structured data. So if you have that old recipe book lying around, what happens if your house is on fire? If that book is lost? No, share it with people. I want to know what's on your recipe books. So bring it to the cloud, bring it to Google Assistant, just like I showed you what Bruna did. You can also write your recipes, take a photo, and then use, you know, internationalization, make it available in different languages, share it with people. Maybe it's a super top secret one, share only with your family. Know which users are going to have access to that. And even recipes which are not yours, you can also consume recipes found on the internet on your smart speakers or any other platforms you're using. I gave a talk 2 years ago with JonSkit, and we wanted to show people how they could create something that made sense for their community. And then we talked together and we came up with this idea of creating a mentor search tool. So if you are to find someone by, I don't know, a piece of technology, or their email, or what was the third one? Piece of technology, email, and region. So the two of us, we created it, and we used sentiment analysis, which already comes out of the box in Dialogflow. So basically what it did is the user would say, hi, I would like to find a mentor for Python in Europe. And then if the person started to say something with a negative kind of connotation, for instance, I don't think I'm a very good developer, I do not think this is for me, I think I'm gonna quit, I don't know anything, then it would pick up and we would escalate the call to a real person. Again, this was just a demo, but what we did on the day is that we called each other's phone. And this is one of the integrations which is available. So again, this was 2 years ago. And nowadays I saw that in the Dialogflow platform, there are 4 other integrations. I haven't tested them myself, but it's amazing. And you should definitely test it out and let me know how it goes. So imagine that now people interacting with your chatbots, they don't have to just go to Facebook Messenger or on your website. They can even give a call to it. So we're really going to the users where they are. Another thing, moving to London, it was incredibly hard for me to learn how to get dressed in here. I used to be very, very formal in Brazil. And then my first day of work, I went to work with a blazer. Everyone looked at me. So for me, it made sense to create an application that I could say something along the lines of, it's warm today, what can I wear? And then I had taken pictures of all the photos of my wardrobe, and then it consults an API, and then it sees what the weather is like today, and then it shows me a few clothes. This is not fully finished yet, it's open source, and I'm more than happy. Maybe you suffer from the same problem as me, or you have ideas to help me out, so please jump on it and help me out. And if you think, come on, this is stupid, I don't care about fashion, but maybe you care about something else, and this is just me giving you an idea. There is something, stupid or not, you want this to be improved, use technology. And you can leverage the device and screen capabilities. I am a front-end developer myself, and every time I finish building something, I have to worry on how it's going to look on Safari. How is it going to look depending on the breakpoint? But because we're using a technology which is already available, all the people at Google made this fancy stuff, they already know. So this one, for instance, it doesn't have a screen. So whatever I build here, you cannot see the screen. But if the same interaction I created is connected to Telegram, is connected to a different channel, I can say, so if Telegram use, I don't know, Telegram doesn't have buttons, right? But if I'm on Facebook Messenger, it has quick replies. So you can build it once, and then you can just deal with the exceptions on each platform. Bring brand awareness as well. I am an Aikidoka. I practice martial arts, Aikido, and I wanted to create an action with the students from the social project I had in Brazil. And then I asked my friend, so what I wanted to portray is, I'm not sure, let's see if you can get it from the image. I want Aikido to be for everyone. Everyone is included, no matter who they are. And I can talk to a designer, I can get that, and I can bring that awareness, because when you're searching in the pool of actions, you can then see the art, the typography, the colors that make sense to my brand. And then of course, once they start interacting with it, there are more things that you have to have in mind. For instance, the persona. Is it an action for kids? Do you have to worry about language? Do you have to worry about the tone of voice? So you have many things to take in consideration, and you can share your essence with your users. Template actions. So for this one specific example that I did with the kids, I didn't use anything fancy. I just used a template. Basically, I had a Google spreadsheet with some columns, questions, answers, tips. You got it right, you got it wrong. And that's it. Then what I had to do is, of course, add all of the terms of service and a few questions so that it's available, to which age it's available, it should be available, and things like that. But the actual development time, it didn't require a dev. I mean, anyone can do it. There is a tutorial, and I'm more than happy to help you out as well. So you don't have to solve problems of generations. You just have to solve your problem. So start small, iterate on it, and soon enough, you're going to be solving the world's problems, I'm sure. So let's just see how a life of a conversation goes. So this is a chatbot that I created for a wedding. You can say matrimônio in Portuguese. So how does it work? Have you ever interacted with a bot on Telegram? What happens is there is a start command. You can come from anywhere. You could find a link on, I don't know, on a web page, you click to go there, or maybe you actually found it and then you said hi or something like that. So the conversation is initiated. Then here I have a screenshot of the platform on Dialogflow. So I receive an event, a welcome event that triggers the welcome intent. And then what happens? An intent is matched, yes. And then what happens is it's going to give back a response. So, okay, so you said hi, that's the welcome intent. I found it in the pool of all the intents, and here's your response. And then the user gets it back. And that goes on and on in loop. So if I say, is it going to rain on the day of the wedding? So I could create an intent called rain, and then I could say, yes, you can buy an umbrella here. And then you can do that. So I have this one made in Brazilian Portuguese. If anyone needs for their own wedding, just let me know. I'm more than happy to share. Yeah, and I actually used it in my actual wedding, and I'm reusing it for my friend now who's getting married in Italy. So this is a screenshot of the integrations that I was telling you about. So, okay, I built this thing, may it be with code or not, and now I would like it to be available in different platforms. When I created my very first bot, God, many years ago, I built everything in Ruby on Rails, and I connected it for Facebook Messenger. And then my boss said, okay, let's make it available in other channels now. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. It's so hard. I have to learn another platform. And that's the time when I was introduced to Dialogflow, because what happened was, okay, I built everything once. I clicked to integrate. I'm talking very high level here. I got an endpoint. I connect the endpoints, and that's it. It's working there. And if it's not available in one platform, I don't have to worry about all the limitations. The Google Assistant Dialogflow is going to take care of that for me. If you'd like to get started, I'm going to go through these terms very quickly, but just something that you have to have in mind. Things that you have to know: the intents, which are the training phrases. Hello, how are you doing? Is it going to rain? The actions and parameters. So everything you say in the question, you're going to extract parameters. So if I say the wedding is in Italy, so I got the location, the word wedding, I get all these nouns, and then I give a response back to my user. Another thing is an entity. So I'm going to sell t-shirts. So when the user says S, I can add the synonyms to it. It can be small, tiny, little. There are some system ones. You can imagine that how many people are using Dialogflow and how much data has been trained. So whenever you say an address or a unit of measure, it already picks it up. So it's very fun when you're typing in the platform. It already picks it up, it changes the color and tells you what that parameter is about. But if you have something which is very specific that not many people have used it, you can create it, something which makes sense only to your community, to your company. And there's also the composite ones, which means, so I'd like you to tell me your full name. And then you just reply with your given name. You don't tell me your last name. And then I say, okay, so I'm going to use two entities. I'm going to use first name, given name, and last name. And I can only move on to the next intent once you gave me the two of them. And then where you see small s, m, or l, I could add two things over there. So entities is something you have to learn as well. Context, which to me is the power, one of the biggest powers of Dialogflow, because you can control the flow. So if I say, what's the weather like in London? What can I do there? So you're keeping the context. And you can say the lifespan. So after the user says London, talks about London 3 times, it can then erase that. You can reset the context, and you can add many of them at the same time. You can keep a place, a date, and many other things. And you can know which of this information you want to carry on or not to the next step of the conversation. There is fulfillment. So I can write dummy answers. I can just say, so when is the wedding? The wedding is on this date. Or maybe it could be all in another place. It could be in a database. It could be somewhere else. And again, we're talking about Google technologies here, but your endpoint, it could be AWS, Azure, don't care. It's going to fetch the information from there. And you can, of course, write the code in your fulfillment, in your webhook. in the lines of webhook, this is how it looks on the platform. If you'd like to use Firebase, it's out of the box. There is an inline editor and it uses Node. So there are only 2 tabs. I'm going to talk a bit code here now. So there is only 2 tabs. You only have one JS file and one package JSON file. But if you'd like it, let's say I'd like this to be more languages or anything else, I'd like to use a different programming language, you could then go to your IDE and you could use it from there. You could, I don't know, use, for instance, Firebase Cloud Functions, and you could deploy it from there more folders. But if what you have to do is very simple, is simpler, you can use it even, you wouldn't need anything else other than a browser to get it to work, at least in test mode. And also think about re-engaging the users. You built all these amazing things. It's out there, it's published, but in a pool of so many applications out there, so many actions, why is the user going to use yours? So you can use some things wisely, because I hate push notifications when they're for no reason. Why am I receiving a push notification? So you can think of things that make sense. I don't know, a user purchased something. Is it good to send them a push notification the day after? Maybe they didn't even have time, but maybe after, I don't know, 15 days, the user has had enough time to deal with it, to learn about it. So you could say, so did you enjoy your product? Then there's other things which are listed here as well, daily updates, routine suggestions that, as I said earlier today, that when I wake up, I have this routine. Maybe you could suggest other things that you can do in your app and other things like that. And I left here a link in this on this slide that you can see it as well. So here's more documentation and resources. I know this is recorded. Feel free to take a screenshot as well. And today I focused a lot on Dialogflow, but this is not the only tool you have to use if you would like to create chatbots. There's many out there. I don't know how to pronounce. There is one called Raza. There are some open source tools. There's many things you can use, but the idea is if you learn the fundamentals of chatbot, maybe for Alexa, for Dialogflow, you're probably going to reuse most of that knowledge in the other platforms. Thank you very, very much. And I don't know if you asked questions throughout this time that I was talking, but I'm more than happy to answer them if I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. That was a great session and quite informative, actually. Starting from how you can make things very user-friendly and using the technology to log in the, like everyday's informations, and also making it easy by not typing and using your voice, which is the best way of, like commanding for someone.
Yeah, especially nowadays that we are, quarantined. Many people are afraid of going out of the house. So imagine if there's a way that you can talk to the, the machines out there, and you could just use your voice instead of having to tap in a place where many people are tapping. So we can definitely bring this to our lives.
There are lots of use cases for sure then.
Yep.
And very interestingly, you have even automated your Q&A sessions on your website, which is great. Only escalations come to you where you save your time. You have, and your cloud rob, it's a great idea actually. This is a question which everyone gets asked themselves in the morning, what should I wear?
I know.
And
then there's people like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. They're like, nope, not going to make that choice in the morning. Just going to repeat this.
I'm busy.
Yeah, but I'm into fashion, so no.
Yeah, great. And your brand awareness, template actions is something, like that even you have used that template actions for kids education. So which is great. I think we all can go and definitely try it out. And I think even have already got an idea to, like create something called My House Chat. So he's going to try it out on his house. So even you can give us a feedback how successful you were on achieving that. And if you want to, like it's all about Q&A sessions now. So if you can, if you have any questions.
I can see the chat. Where is it?
If you click the chat window, you should be, but you don't have any questions at the moment.
Oh, okay, great.
There was, so if everyone can raise your hands, we will unmute you so that you can raise your questions to Amanda to answer.
Yeah, and don't feel pressured. If you just want to talk in private, go and talk to my
Oh,
bot.
you can, yeah.
Don't promise when
You
I'm
can,
gonna answer, but
yeah. So you have two ways of asking the questions. One is raise your hands, or just put your questions over there in the chat window, so Amanda can address that.
yeah, or even share the things that you've been using in your own houses. If you use, I don't know, Siri, Alexa, any of these, I'm interested to know what you've been up to. I found the chat.
What is the next audio skill you want to make? Is a question from Eddie. Can you see the chat, Amanda?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I was just
Okay.
going through everything. So I see one from Eddie. What is the next audio skill you want to make? Actually, I don't want to create any at the moment. I've been mentoring some people, and I really want to help people get to a point where they can build things with confidence. And I want to improve CloudRobe, because my CloudRobe is both a web app, so there's a React part to it, and there's also a chatbot side to it. So I want to make that one better. I'm a big starter of projects and not finish anything, so I'm kind of making it a point now. Do something to a working point, and then you go to the next one. Are you going to create anything, Eddie?
Jamie raised hand. Jamie, I have unmuted you. Please ask your question.
Hi, thanks for that, Amanda. It was really helpful. For context, I actually work in a chatbot business, so I'm just curious of it from that perspective. Do you do much with the visual elements of Google Assistant? I know you mentioned it briefly when we were talking about clothing, but I know depending on which assistant you have, like the Echo Dot, for example, doesn't do any visual, but there are some opportunities there, or sending information to devices. Have you found that to be particularly helpful?
Thank you for asking, and thank you also for sharing the beginning, your level, and everything that really helped me shape the conversation. So there are rich conversations, and when you give them some suggestion chips, that's really helpful, because like, is it yes or no? At times, if you just type that, it makes it very useful. But at times, when you give them too many options, people tend to be overwhelmed, and then they tend to ask more questions or ask for the help command. So it's important to use it, but to use it wisely as well, not to overload people with information. And also having consideration that depending on the platform you're using, some of these don't work. So know where your user is, what is best for them, and test away. If something doesn't work, do, alpha, beta tests.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I have the challenge of working on WhatsApp, which is a completely unvisual, untappable environment. So it's all NLU driven, which is not always the most fun. Speaking of which, what do you do with your not handled intents? Do you drop them to a fallback kind of situation, or how do you manage those when you're designing and coding for these engagements?
So once for context, everyone, when you just created a chatbot using Dialogflow and Action, you out of the box, you get two intents, which is the welcome one, as I said, and there is the fallback one, which can be very annoying, when they get like, oh, sorry, I didn't know what you mean with that, but I'm always learning. So you can deal with these different fallback intents. They can be just one for all, or it could be one for different contexts. I mostly work creating demos for people, so I deal with only one type, but I'm interested to know you who are working in production. How do you deal with that?
It will depend on the nature of the bot. We use a lot of what I refer to as step level fallbacks, in that if they're in a certain intent and flow, we'll drop in a fallback for that. For example, if I'm trying to get an order ID or customer ID from a customer to pass along or to call an API with, I will drop them back to say, okay, well, that's not the right structure, or that's not a valid email address, something to that effect. I try to handle them within that flow rather than a generic we didn't learn anything from that. Like,
It's
a
also
challenge.
interesting to have go to the previous question to also, if something happens, and always offer them, you know, a command, or you can always ask for help. Because what tends to happen is if people don't know how to use your technology, they get scared. They think they're the problem, and then they don't want to touch it anymore. They're like, I want to talk to a real person. And what we want to achieve here is talking less to real people, only when we actually need it.
I would agree 100%, particularly that speak to agent. It's like getting a phone tree and hitting 0 until you get a human.
Yeah.
So really the best practice from my perspective is try to make it as engaged as possible and answer the questions within a conversational flow rather
Exactly,
than.
but also don't get scared. Get, you know, your product very a first interaction of it. Don't get it to do a lot at first. Get it to do a few things. See if the users are responding well. Get feedback from them, and improve it, you know, by iterations.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate this chat.
I think there's more questions here for from Joyce. Do you have a recommended resource that discusses best practices when building a bot? So I shared, I'm not sure if I'm still sharing my slides, some resources here. Am I still sharing my slides? Yes, you're screen sharing. So there are some resources here. The best places to go are, there is a sub on Reddit. I forgot the name right now. There is Stack Overflow. There's many developers. Last time I checked, it was 600,000. I bet it's a lot more nowadays because I checked it 1 year ago. So there is a community. Go on Twitter, use the hashtag AOG devs, talk to people in these platforms mostly. And now that I put this, I lost, okay, chat's back. For beginners, where to start. So if you Google search, or with voice, with your Google Assistant, you can just say Code Labs, Google Assistant level 1. There is level 1, 2, and 3. You can get started. It's step by step. Even if you don't know how to code, or you've never opened Dialogflow, it's going to show you from step number 0 to step number 3. 3 being 10, on how to build things, which can be very smart. So you're going to learn how to connect to endpoints, how you can create different types of entities. It can get really smart. And there is that thing that because the tutorial is there and it's working, there's also a GitHub repo with many samples. It's Dialogflow on GitHub. So if you don't know where to start, you can even get these samples which are built for you. You can, you know, copy them and learn, or you can go to the tutorials, Code Labs. And Jamie said Code Labs are really helpful. I agree. And by the way, many people recorded them on YouTube as well, so you can even see it. I've translated it to Portuguese. There's many people who are translating them as well. And if, I don't know, if you'd like to tell it to someone that English is not their first language and you go to Code Labs, you just use the translate, you right click, click translate. It's not going to be 100% brilliant, but it's really fair. What's a good place to learn about Google API integration? Documentation was good to a point, but then I got stuck. Dialogue part is better documented. So the best place for you to see these things is, I think I'm going to repeat myself, but actually seeing projects that people have used. So go on GitHub, go to the Code Labs, definitely. There are some Code Labs, even for a smart house. There is one that you can connect to your washing machine. So Code Labs is the best one.
I wouldn't want to connect my washing machine to the internet.
Yeah, I have one thing in my house, if I can show you. Okay, Google, turn on the lights. Okay, Google, turn off the lights. I mean, you can be useful or to not. And I'm sorry if I enabled any assistance in there by saying the OKG word.
Okay, now I realize that being the youngest child in the family, I was the Google Assistant for turning on and off the lights.
I have 2 assistants at home now, so
You have to. Yeah, that's the thing. There's many, I don't know if some of you are in London or not, but in London, from some time, many conferences that you would go to, people would give these, like you would enter some competition or something. And I see many people with the assistants in the house, but they don't know what to do with them. So I hope that today from the talk, you got some ideas on what you can start doing.
I guess Ivan raised his hands. So if Helen can unmute Ivan.
He said he's going to be right back.
Back. Should we change the presentation mode so that we can see everyone?
Could I, or should I wait my turn? No, this was inspiring because I've actually connected my washing machine to the internet, and I've been connecting more and more things, and I was interested in the Internet of Things in general. So I was looking into automation, and I've tried the different things, and I have different hubs from different companies. So connecting them all in one ecosystem is always tricky. There is the open one like Zigbee and stuff that is better, but yeah, then it's more integrated. So in theory, now it just came to my mind, and I've got kind of a couple of ideas. So I was thinking about maybe getting outlets that are calculating how am I spending my electricity. So in theory, if I program everything, I could ask, that was the part about house, basically, talking to my house is basically, hey, can you show me how much electricity I'm currently spending? So the bot would be able to reply. And then I was thinking about maybe asking a suggestion. Okay, so what can I do right now? What can I turn off so that it actually spends less energy, for example?
That's so cool. If you're going to sell that idea, there's a lot of people here who stole it. Very, very cool. Thanks for sharing.
Hi, I'm Bhuvana here. Just have a quick question. So you're connecting something in the house to the internet. How do you keep the system secure?
Oh, that's a big question. I remember when I was learning that in university, and then my professor, he gave an example of, oh, you don't even need a key to your house anymore. You can just use your phone. And I was like, so if someone steals my phone, then I get a key to my house? Yeah, I don't like to talk about security much because it's not my area of expertise, but with anything, like you can get your house key stolen, you can get your account broken into. So I don't want to say it's 100% safe. Anything is safe. We're all very vulnerable. But as far as the cloud goes nowadays, it's a safe piece of technology. But I'm not comfortable in going any further because I haven't studied that a lot.
My remark about washing machines was my professional deformation because I used to work on implementation of DDoS protection. So you can probably answer your question. The rule of thumb for your home appliances is to have a separate hotspot for them to connect, separate Wi-Fi, and limit the bandwidth, because inevitably those things, they do connect to the internet because lots of them, they have default passwords or otherwise very weak protection, and they do DDoS. That's just a fact. That's out of the question. So just limit the bandwidth.
Okay.
And a separate point.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
This is what I love about the community. Like if I don't know something, there's always someone else. And that's something I miss about the, in-person meetups that you host, because you go there, this time we would probably having a beverage and chatting. So I'm glad we can still have this online.
Yeah, but you don't have to commute then.
Yeah, which is great.
I do not miss Southwestern Railway.
No, but it's great. There's even someone from Tokyo in here. So, wow. I mean, it's way more inclusive this way as well. Do you have anything else to share? Things that you want to do in your house, things that you've done?
How many chickens does it take to kill a lion? This is the stupidest question of the evening. There can't be any more stupid questions.
Yeah, that one is out of the way. Ask your questions.
We have a few more minutes. If you have any questions, we can discuss, or you have any questions related to Women Who Code or technologies other than what Amanda have shared, we are open to take. It can be a discussion forum now.
are hungry. They want to have dinner.
I know.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's do this. I'm going to stop the recording and we can just chat about our recent achievements to the upload her thingy. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's do it.